Hello, I am the Unfeeling. Before I get into today's video, I have a couple of things I need to go over. First, I decided to create a Tumblr blog. It's just a way for me to get my videos some more attention. I encourage everyone to spread these videos around so we can show rational people how feminism actually operates in this day and age. The link to my Tumblr is in the description. The other thing is that I have to correct a mistake I made in my last video. I tried to keep my bias out of the equation the best that I could, considering that I am a strong anti-feminist. However, I did slip up and let it get the best of me. I said that Katie Halper worded the article in a way that made it seem like feministing was encouraging rape. That is incorrect. My bias blinded me for a second, especially from how rape was brought up for literally no reason. What I should have said was that Miss Halper worded it in a way that made it seem like the professor she was quoting was encouraging rape. Anyway, with that correction out of the way, we can move on to the next site, which is Feministe. The Take Part article had this to say about the site.
Feministe is one of the oldest feminist blogs designed by and run by women from the ground up.
This should be good. Let's hope this will be a great source for what feminism is truly like. Like before, instead of jumping right into the articles, I'd like to look at the About section to learn more about this site as a whole.
Lauren founded Feministe as her personal blog in 2001, and brought Jill in as a co-blogger in 2005. In the years since, the blog grew and grew in readership while still remaining essentially a personal blog, just with more bloggers and increased running costs. Thus why Feministe started running ads to cover those costs. Lauren, mostly, retired from active blogging at Feministe in 2010, and several more co-bloggers have come and gone as the tides of the internet have ebbed and flowed. Currently the active blogging collective consists of Jill, Caperton, Sally and TikTok, augmented by many marvelous guest bloggers and the occasional surprise appearance from one of our bloggers emeritus. As of September 2013, Feministe now has a mission statement. A. Prioritizing women's voices and centering discussion informed by pro-feminist, anti-oppression, and broadly intersectional social justice worldviews. B. Facilitating a discussion space where readers feel comments are productive and not bigoted, nor marginalizing, nor erasing of non-normative points of view. We decline to publish comments that are racist, sexist, ableist, homophobic, transphobic or otherwise unacceptable. C. Offering a composite expression of the variations in the lives women lead and the varied views women hold, by encouraging all authors to share their personal reflections on any aspects of society and culture they may wish to criticize, analyze, satirize, recommend, mock, condemn or celebrate. D. Highlighting instances, systems of oppression, and effective allyship for marginalized voices, especially supporting our co-authors, contributors and commenters who are sharing perspectives from their own lived experiences of navigating oppression and marginalization. E. Soliciting diverse guest bloggers with broadly compatible goals and interests to expand the range of views expressed here. F. Seeking new voices with diverse feminisms and lived experiences who are willing to become part of the Feministe blogging collective. G. Supporting and protecting our commenting community, whose contributions as an essential driver of substantive discussions we acknowledge and value, by consistently enforcing our commenting guidelines. H. Encouraging our commentariat to self-protect their community here by keeping systems in place for rigorously challenging and reporting breaches of our community etiquette.
Feministe seems to be a lot better about how they display themselves than Feministing so far. I find none of this out of the ordinary or alarming. They do have a comment guideline section, so let's look at that before getting to some articles.
Pro-feminist, progressive and intersectional social justice discussion is important to us. We aim to provide a space where readers feel comments are productive and not bigoted nor erasing of non-normative points of view, while recognizing that it is impossible to be a safe space according to every person's definition. We will delete comments that are abusive, off-topic, or include ad hominem attacks. Foul language is not offensive to us unless it is used as a weapon against a writer or commenter. Because we value our community and will work to protect that community, sometimes we will delete comments that we believe to be harmful or trolling. Each blogger retains control over the comments on their own posts, particularly negative and incendiary comments. The moderator team may unapprove a comment so that it is transferred to the moderation queue while awaiting a decision from the post author on its ultimate publication status. We retain the right to 1. Control content and comments. 2. Edit comments. Please use HTML to post links that are relevant to conversation. Posting a long link breaks the template and is irritating to the web mistresses. 3. Delete comments. If they meet the criteria for deletion, we will not hesitate to delete such comments. 4. Prevent comments by specific persons or groups. We will do what is possible to prevent publishing comments that are racist, sexist, ableist, homophobic, transphobic or otherwise marginalizing. Controversy is not scary to us, but we do aim to create a space that is safe for the expression of pro-feminist ideas. Debate is possible on marginalizing comments if there is disagreement, but care must be taken to avoid splash damage. Commenters can send a moderator alert when marginalizing remarks appear on a thread. 5. Make some posts feminist only, or exclude certain types of comments and commenters.
So far, number 5 is the only one that has caught my attention. Yes, it is their right to do this, but they are saying that at any moment, they may create a feminist echo chamber where no opposing views are allowed. By including it on this list, they are explicitly saying they will do this if they want to, or find it necessary. Again, it is within their right to do so. I'm just pointing out how this can be used in a negative way.
6. Insist that off-topic conversations be taken to the latest spillover thread. This allows discussion of the original posts to remain focused on the substance of the author's commentary, criticism, while also allowing thread tangents room to stand in a space of their own.
That's actually a pretty good idea. It's important to keep discussion to the original topic. I don't know how many times I've seen the comments of an article or video derail into something completely irrelevant to the topic at hand. This would allow those comments, possibly arguments, to continue without seeming like the comments on the article has very little to do with the article itself. I hope to be able to see this in practice to see how it actually works.
Alert a moderator to problematic comments. Sometimes combative, triggering comments which use innocuous words can slip past our auto-moderation filter. We have a signal commenters can use on thread to alert the moderation team to such comments so that we can inspect them ASAP and deal with them appropriately. The giraffe is also available to inspect comments which may merely lack a necessary content note, trigger warning, etc. The giraffe may also be called for if commenters are insisting on threadjacking, dragging a discussion off topic, so that the moderators may firmly remind everybody that spillover threads exist to provide a space for off-topic tangents to thrive without disrupting our on-topic discussions. The moderation team will enforce topicality when needed. The giraffe is here to help. The severe chastisement, exclusion options are only the extreme possibilities, and minor cleanups on aisle 5 also fall into the giraffe inspection brief.
I didn't realize they had an auto-moderation filter. I could see this as problematic if it simply censors comments based on the words the user chose to use. Context is everything, so if a comment used racial slurs, they may be blocked even if they were using it in a context that wasn't expressing racism but merely showing how ridiculous racism is. That's just an example I can think of off the top of my head where an auto-moderation filter can be flawed. However, I'm sure a message will appear, showing why the comment wouldn't be posted. I know on other sites, you can't add $signs in your messages or comments to minimize spam, and a message will appear saying you have inappropriate content in your text. It allows you to edit it to be deemed appropriate. Hopefully Feministe uses a similar system.
Our guest bloggers are not Feministe regulars. Feministe, as part of a site tradition that aims to share the public platform and give readers a taste of our favorite writers and issues, frequently hands the keys to the site over to guest bloggers. Our guest bloggers are chosen by the Feministe crew and approved by all of the regular writers. We expect all commenters to respect our guests as they would the house writers. Moreover, we invite all these folks write with us because we are their fans and supporters, and because we're interested in the kind of discussion that their ideas will inspire. While we are very much their fans, that does not mean that we endorse every minute detail of their opinions, much like we can and do disagree with one another. This kind of ideological diversity is a feature of having a group blog, not a bug. Moreover, this kind of diversity is more representative of our feminisms than vetting one another's writing for cohesion. Our guest bloggers write and publish posts without any kind of editorial review, but with our express support. As writers, we don't expect to please everyone, but we do expect that criticism will be hewn to the opinion being criticized and not veer into the likability of the person expressing it. We will attempt to warn those who are getting into this territory before moderating their comments.
I'll definitely have to keep that in mind. Feministe, as a whole, may not actually agree with everything that is said within writers' articles. However, I am hoping that they are careful about who they invite to write on their site. One can see how it would be a little dangerous to say, I may not agree with their views, but I do support their writing, and thus have invited them to write for my site. If the guest writer is being thought-provoking, then there shouldn't be any real issue. But if the writer comes off like a radical feminist, I would have to question why they were invited to be a guest writer in the first place, considering that so far, Feministe doesn't come off as a radical site. At any rate, there is only a little more to go before I can see all of this in practice.
Frequently asked questions. I posted a comment. Why can't I see it on the site? As the site grows, so does the volume of comments. We have difficulty approving the comments fast enough. We also work day jobs, so provided your comment is not abusive or off-topic, it will appear as soon as one of us gets to it. If you have been approved with a previous comment, have not since been banned, and your comment is not caught by the spam filter, your comment will appear without the approval of a moderator. If it has been caught by the spam filter on accident, a moderator will approve it when time allows, or maybe you've been banned. Tisk tisk.
So it would appear that Feministe has an interesting way of approving comments. It seems your first comment must be approved, most likely to show that you are not a troll or someone that's just there to stir up shit because you disagree with feminism. I don't really have a problem with that, but that does seem very tedious. At least it would seem they are trying to be fair while trying to cut down on unnecessary bullshit.
Why am I blocked from commenting on Feministe? There are a few reasons a comment might be blocked. 1. If a comment is abusive, off-topic, includes an ad hominem attack, or is otherwise argued in bad faith. 2. If a commenter has previously posted comments that are abusive, off-topic, or include ad hominem attacks, the Feministe moderators may decide to ban the commenter's IP address. The abusive commenter is banned from commenting on the site in the future without moderation, even if the later comments are not abusive. We ban or moderate IPs because it is too time-consuming to pick out comments written by someone with a pattern of abuse. 3. If you share a computer or IP address with someone who has written abusive comments, your comment may be blocked even if you have never written anything abusive. 4. If your comment has inadvertently been caught in the spam filter, which may occur if you use a term that is commonly associated with spam. 5. We believe you may be sock puppeting.
I can certainly understand where they're coming from. I can also understand why a comment with an ad hominem within it would be blocked. But I also don't see it as necessary to block a comment for an ad hominem, unless it was excessive. People get emotional about their stances, and while they should try to be as calm as possible when arguing their points, they are still human. An ad hominem or two is to be expected, at least in my experience. Perhaps it is because I'm so used to people believing in their position so strongly that I don't care if they hurl an insult my way. I shrug it off and simply counter their points, if they have any. As for number 2, it would be nice to know what kind of system they're using to establish a pattern of abuse. Is it like a 3-strike rule, or is it based off of a first offense? Maybe 2 offenses? With such vague language at times, it's hard to tell how quickly someone can get banned. I don't really see any issue with blocking someone's IP address since it would stop them from simply making a new account to continue harassing behavior. However, for number 4, it would be nice if they included a list of at least some examples of what type of things get caught by the spam filter, just so people would know what to avoid. And lastly, I never really find much evidence for sock accounts at times. For instance, I was just accused of being a sock account of razor blade candy in the comments of one of his videos. simply because I agreed with his message. You can see the exchange for yourself. I've put a link to that video in the description.
Concluding statement. We value diversity of opinions and we welcome dissent, but our primary goal is to foster a dynamic, robust, progressive and inclusive feminist community. In that spirit, we ask that all commenters post in good faith, and that conservative or non-feminist commenters keep in mind that they are in our house and should behave accordingly. We will use our discretion in determining which comments are posted.
Good to see that they are willing to allow people that aren't part of their political view to comment. It's one thing to say you allow people to disagree, but that doesn't always ring true. I've seen where it really translates to, you can disagree as long as you still don't hold opinions of our direct opposite. Or you can disagree as long as you agree what needs to be done, but disagree about how it needs to be done. This site seems like it will be a fair one from reading this. Now I can go to the articles to see what kind of content they have. I will not cherry pick. I will go in order from what I see. I'll only skip over open threads that are just random discussion about general topics, such as what everyone has been up to lately, and the shameless self-promotions. First we have an article relating to the Hobby Lobby case, called Satanists Against Medical Misinformation.
So I'm actually of two minds about this. On the one hand, anti-abortion types already think feminists are in league with Satan, so this certainly won't help. On the other hand, anti-abortion types already think feminists are in league with Satan, so how much damage can it do, really? Following the Supreme Court decision in Burwell vs. Hobby Lobby, which established that companies are free to enforce bullshit restrictions on women's healthcare on their employees if said bullshit corresponds with their religious beliefs, another religious group has stepped forward to claim their religious exemption, the Satanic Temple.
Right out of the gate, Caperton has set an angry tone. Definitely not a good start. There are only certain types of anti-abortionists that believe people that are pro-choice are in league with Satan. In my experience, they are few and far between, unless you go to a strictly conservative setting, where of course you'll find plenty of fundamentalist Christians that believe God is on their side. At any rate, it does come off pretty antagonistic. It suggests that if you're pro-life, you're crazy and think people who are pro-choice are simply tools of the devil. That's simply not true. Just yesterday, I had a discussion with someone that was pro-life, believed abortion was murder, but never once brought up God or Satan. I don't even know if they were religious or not, only that she was pro-life. So the language Caperton is using in the first paragraph already comes off as a straw man, as it seems most pro-lifers I encounter never make that claim. Also, just to make it clear to my audience, Satanists don't actually worship the devil. In fact, you don't even have to believe the devil exists to be a Satanist. If you read the Satanic Bible, you'll learn that it's actually all about being true to yourself, indulging in your desires. It emphasizes moderation so you don't become compulsive about your desires. It explicitly states that it is against rape, child molestation, human sacrifice, and any other crime. They do not condone violating someone's will. They say that a quote-unquote true sadist will seek out a masochist, so that both of them are fulfilling their desires, but no one's will is being violated. I just thought I should throw that in here since many people still confuse Satanism with devil worship. As far as the quote-unquote bullshit restrictions, I explained in my last video that the decision was based on Hobby Lobby being a closely held corporation of private owners. The courts have little interest about whether or not the claims Hobby Lobby made about the 4 contraceptives they didn't approve of are true. Its interest was in if the government had the authority to force them to do it against their will. In this specific case, the Supreme Court decided it did not, since the way the government wanted to make Hobby Lobby provide those contraceptives was not the path of least resistance. Once again, I'll put a link to the Justicar's video, explaining this in greater detail. This issue is blown out of proportion in this article within a couple of paragraphs. I don't know if Caperton is unaware, or doesn't care, or simply believes women are entitled to all forms of FDA-approved contraceptives, paid for by their employer. But Hobby Lobby provides 16 out of 20 of them. That alone always comes across that it's not really about getting contraceptives as a whole, since Hobby Lobby's female employees already have 16 options, but instead, It's more about women feeling entitled to have others pay for things they want for themselves. No one is forcing those women to work for Hobby Lobby. If they don't agree to those terms, and feel like they must have those other 4 contraceptives, they could look for work at a corporation that is willing to provide them, or they could shell out the money to get it for themselves. After all, corporations don't provide male workers with condoms. Men have to pay for them on their own. I don't see why women should get special treatment and have their contraceptives paid for by others. Either that, or force corporations to give men condoms as part of their health insurance. Then we could have a little more equality instead of providing for one group, while telling the other they're on their own.
On Monday, the group launched a campaign in support of accurate medical information for women and, specifically, exemption from informed consent laws requiring women to hear unequivocally inaccurate information and scary warnings before being allowed to get an abortion. The Satanic Temple believes that the body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, and supports health decisions based on the best scientific understanding of the world, regardless of the religious or political beliefs of others. In their statement, TST said, "Informed consent bills requiring abortion providers to give their patients official informational material regarding the procedure have been criticized in the past for providing biased and false information to women in a bold effort at dissuading them from abortions. Such materials have included claims of a link between abortion and breast cancer, as well as claims regarding a depressive post-abortion syndrome, both of which the Satanic Temple view as scientifically unfounded and medically invalid, and therefore an affront to their religious beliefs."
I can't speak on the validity of those medical and psychological claims about women that have had abortions. I simply don't know. I also don't know if these Satanists are genuine or doing this as a way to show what they believe to be absurd about religious freedom. I know Satanists have done that type of thing before, so I'm skeptical about what their motive behind it is, since I am ignorant on the subject. Sadly, there were no comments on this post at the time I looked at it. Moving on to an article titled, "Trial is Underway for Renisha McBride's Shooter."
The trial of Theodore Wafer, the Dearborn Heights man who shot 19-year-old Renisha McBride in the face when she knocked on his door for help after a car accident, started last week. He faces charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony after he responded to McBride's knocking by opening his front door and shooting her through the screen door.
I am generally unfamiliar with this case, but from what I've read, it's just a case to determine whether or not the shooting was accidental or justified, since he and his lawyer have given 2 different accounts, and what his conviction will be. There isn't a feminist angle on this case or anything. This is just a regular report of current events. The only 2 comments were about a link to a similar article that was posting on Feministe back in November 2013. Just when I thought Feministe was all around okay, one article just had to rear its ugly head. Yes, but still, dude plants a flag and claims a kingdom in Africa.
Yes, in the grand scheme of things, there are things of more urgent concern than one imperialist guy and his princess-obsessed daughter. But still, we have yet another entry into the saga of white guy plants a flag in Africa and calls dibs. Jeremiah Heaton, who has 3 children, recently trekked across the Egyptian desert to a small, mountainous region between Egypt and Sudan called Bertal. The area, about 800 square miles, is claimed by neither Sudan nor Egypt, the result of land disputes dating back more than 100 years. Since then, there have been several online claimants to the property, but Heaton believes his physical journey to the site, where he planted a flag designed by his children, means he rightfully can claim it and call his 7-year-old daughter Princess Emily, the fulfillment of a promise he made months earlier. Over the winter, Emily and I were playing, and she has a fixation on princesses. She asked me, in all seriousness, if she'd be a real princess someday, Heaton said, and I said she would.
Here we have a guy that tries to fulfill his daughter's dreams and does something crazy to show he would go to great lengths to make her happy. I'm not denying what he did is very insensitive, and we all know most likely this won't amount to anything. Odds are, it will be ruled that he doesn't have ownership of the land and he'll have to go home. I can understand why this is in the news because it's simply ridiculous and actually kind of funny to watch people who don't even live in those regions nor are descendants of those from those regions, get offended by it like he planted a flag in their backyard. However, what is uncalled for is stereotyping white people from this one man's actions. Yes, colonization was a thing once. Yes, white people were often settlers. I can't even say it was mostly white people or not because I am ignorant on the subject. What I do know is that something like this is rare in modern times, which is why we can laugh at this guy for thinking what he did was legitimate. But the author shows their disgust by calling him an imperialist, when no one has recognized his authority as far as I know.
Lest this sound like some guy willing to go way, way far, like a $1,500 plane ticket and 28 hours on a camel far, for a gag, the new king of North Sudan has expressed an intent to pursue formal recognition with other African nations, starting with Sudan and Egypt, possibly on the new letterhead he's ordered. In the meantime, the royal family is discussing what to do with their new kingdom, thinking specifically about agriculture, since that's what's on Princess Emily's mind. Because in the end, it's all about her and him and love. But the main intent, he said, was to show his daughter that he would follow through on the promise he made. I think there's a lot of love in the world, Heaton said. I want my children to know I will do absolutely anything for them. Sarcastically, when I was being a jerk.
This is actually the kind of thing I was talking about. I understand the frustration. I understand not knowing how this guy could think it would work. But it's already clear no one sees his claims as legitimate. This goes back to my point. He'll likely be rejected and forced to go home. However, why call it a gag? He's being serious. It's pretty obvious that he is. Insensitivity aside, the man is willing to do a lot for his children. More than most people I know. Think about it. Most parents would just tell their daughters they're a princess and let her have all her fantasies as she plays. As she gets older, she'll learn more about the real world and grow out of it. But Heaton is willing to go out of his way to make it a reality for his daughter. Whether or not it actually happens, which it most likely won't, you have to at least see the great love he has for his children. Capitan seems to act like they know what's going on inside Heaton's mind. They claim that his statement about willing to do absolutely anything for his children is him being sarcastic because he's an asshole, knows he's an asshole, and doesn't care who doesn't like it. This is the type of thing that drove me away from feministing, the need to demonize people the authors disagree with. But in this case, it's not just Caperton. The comments had a similar tone.
White people are still doing white people stuff. Gross. Ha 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 ha. But colonialism and imperialism and white supremacy are totally outdated frames of reference in the modern globalized era, right? What a tool. And boy do I feel sorry for that kids, Princess Emily's, future teachers and college instructors. Bet she won't grow up to have a stunning sense of self-entitlement and self-importance. No sir.
Yes. Let's pretend that only white people did that kind of thing. Never before in history did countries that weren't governed by white people invade other countries and claim the territory, right? Let's just continue to act like only white people have dehumanized other groups. Let's pretend that white people are the scum of the earth because this one man does something insensitive and by no means represents a nation's interest. He did this on his own. I have yet to see any nation back him up, thinking what he did was right, and demand that his authority be recognized. But no, let's ignore all of that and just say white people are up to their old tricks again. I thought this site was against racism. What was it that they said in the feminist mission statement? Oh yes, facilitating a discussion space where readers feel comments are productive and not bigoted, nor marginalizing, nor erasing of non-normative points of view. We decline to publish comments that are racist, sexist, ableist, homophobic, transphobic or otherwise unacceptable. So why is it that these two comments are still here? I'm assuming these are active members on this site, and don't need their comments approved before it appears. However, their comments were posted July 17, 2014. It's now July 29 when I'm making this video. I thought moderators were against this sort of thing. How could blatant racism just be left alone like this with no one to call them out on it? The other 14 comments weren't bigoted like this, though one commenter did say shut up, Jeremiah Heaton. Just shut up and stop it. Considering those two comments I pointed out were literally the first two comments I saw, you can understand why my opinion of this site has suddenly dropped. I think I'm going to leave it there. The blatant hypocrisy of allowing an article with a racist overtone and 2 racist comments to stay for almost 2 weeks shows this is not the type of site I would like to support. I'm not going to condemn the entire site, but I did notice that the author is Caperton, and they are a main contributor of the site. In fact, they wrote all 3 articles I covered in this video. Looks like Feministe isn't the type of feminism I keep hearing is all about equality. Instead, it has blatant racism against white people. I don't support racism against any group, so I'm saying goodbye to the site. Next, I'll be covering a blog site called Our Body, Our Blog. Here's to hoping it will be better than the last 2.